Hi, I'm Gary Norton, and I want to talk about an automation that I've put together that helps me in my business workflow. I'm starting a community on School that targets professionals over the age of 50, and it teaches them about AI and SaaS technology. Part of setting up a new business usually involves the business owner identifying what's known as an avatar or a target person that they want their offering to appeal to. And what I've done is put together an automation that generates some of these target people that I would like to compare any content or lesson that I put together against to make sure that I'm not missing the mark on who I create content for. Now, this process, the first part in terms of generating the bio for the avatar, is done through AI, but it's not plugged into this automation yet. And so I've created some prompts as well as a template that's used that feeds into this automation so that the results are consistent and the automation can predictably know what it's working with. Now, as you see, there are a lot of steps here, and I've kind of used a lot of third-party services because I wanted to explore the different APIs and services available so that I could improve my knowledge base. Not all of these would be needed, and this could definitely be simplified a bit, but the way I've configured it has got what I believe are some pretty good results. I want to walk you through the workflow and then show you a concept video or two at the end that you'll be able to watch. Before I start the process, though, I want to explain the database that's behind this and driving it. I have a database structure that's built around avatar videos, and it's got four main tables. The generic prompts that are used to build out the avatar, a given avatar that represents a unique person that I'm targeting rather than the generic prompts. And then the narratives, which are basically scenes that are broken down from a script that have a video associated with them. That video was built based off of static images, and then I've applied some motion effects between panning and zoom, along with some auto-generated text to give it the effect of a narration. Now, everything that comes into the system that is basically a file that you could download, I've put into a table here called assets, and that will go everything from reference images to narrative images to narrative auto to our final videos. The process that we're going to go through is I'm going to start off an automation right now, and it will run. It usually takes 5 to 8 minutes to generate the full process. So I'm going to start it and then walk you through what's going on in this workflow as these tables fill in. Now, I've already got an avatar image in here so that I did have some example data here that I could refer you to as we start. But in order to create a new record, I want to generate one that's in the horizontal aspect here where I'm doing one image per sentence. I do have more images and I can put as many as I want, but what I found is the video seemed a little too fast-paced if I did more than that. Now, I've got each of these are driven by these master prompts that are kind of genericized that create unique records. So now that I know that I'm going to generate a horizontal video, I need to get a bio or an individual person generated. And this is where that part that is static that I talked to you about comes into play. I can give details on these prompts later on, but basically I've created a prompt outlining the type of person that I think my community targets, and then I've added in an output format to use as a template. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and submit this, and we'll see the type of avatar we're going to generate. All right, it looks like we're going to be doing a profile for Elaine Chen based out of San Jose, California. and she's currently employed in healthcare administration. Now, I put in all kind of aspects that this avatar could have been. It could have been somebody that was laid off, someone from a different ethnicity or a different country. But this, again, is just kind of a brief introduction. So I'm going to copy in this result that absolutely could be automated and put in here, and will be once I feel like I've dialed this in exactly where I want to be. So I have this unique bio that I've created here. Now, to launch the process, all I'm going to do is tell it to generate a narrative. Now, what that narrative is it's going to take this entire file here from the base demographics and name all the way down to these text-based things, and put them in kind of a Cliff's Notes version that I'm calling the master narrative. What happens over here on the automation is it gets triggered when events happen over here in Airtable. I have these automations laid out, and there are 4 things that I trigger on, and then I handle 4 responses from some of the third-party services that I use to update the database. Some of these things take time, and so basically I'm given the equivalent of a coat check ticket when I drop my coat off. When I pick it up, I can exchange it for the real article. That's what happens with a lot of these third-party services, is when I submit a request, they give me an ID. Later on, they'll come back and tell me when that ID is processed and give me the result in exchange, which is an audio file or a video or an image. The first thing that I have here on that outbound negotiation is that when a record enters a view to generate narratives. Now, that happens when I first put in the bio and set the status to generate the narrative. You can see it's already come back. It's done 2 things. It's generated this master narrative, which is a script that AI believes is going to take between 60 and 90 seconds. It is different than this text that's generated over here. It also took into account some of these things that maybe the text originally didn't include. I also generate a base image because this video is going to be utilizing multiple scenes or images, and each scene is in essence 1 sentence from this master narrative. I want to make it look like that the same person is in all of the videos. And so when we come over to this, the first thing we do is we get a request from the database, and I zoom in and determine, okay, this is about avatars. And we can act on 2 different kind of records, avatars or narratives. And I'll get into the difference in a minute. But when the avatar comes in, I initially pass a generate status. And from that generation, I generate the reference image prompt, and I send that off to Leonardo AI, and I create an asset record with that ticket number or job ID that they give me. And then when they're done, they'll notify me through this that, hey, we're done, and then I can come over to the asset table, and you see the reference image ultimately gets updated. Once that happens over here in the automation, the next thing we do is take the master narrative, or those 3 to 4 paragraphs, we split it up into sentences, and then we generate an image prompt based on the content of that image. And that's where we get into these concepts of narratives. Now, in this particular version, it looks like we've got about 9 different sentences that it found, and it's broken those down, and here's the prompt that it's used, and you can see they've already filled in. What it did is it generated a prompt, sent that out to Leonardo.ai, and then once the image is generated, you can see the statuses are updating as we're talking here, but it's doing a number of things where it's actually going out and generating these audio clips. And then when the audio clips are done, we get into a unique aspect here on the script where we take these still images and we come down, we find the images we want, and we're going to turn them into a video clip with a little bit of motion. I'm executing some random JavaScript here that, in essence, chooses a pan direction, left, right, top, and so forth. And then I combine that with a zoom effect over a duration of 7 seconds, which I found is generally about the length of a traditional sentence generated by AI. When I get that video, it doesn't have sound at this point, it's just the motion. But once I have the motion for that image and the audio clip done, I can combine them together. And that's where I come back into this final video clip, which has combined the audio and video for this given sentence. When that happens, if we go back into the avatar status, it actually changes it into a situation where it now comes back up and says, okay, I have all of the short clips done. I'm going to process a final narrative and combine it into a single video. At this point, we're also adding in captions, and we can position these on the screen, change the size of the font and so forth, as well as the font family that's being used. In this case, I'm just using Roboto. I can tell it whether to use caps or not, and the API is pretty robust. I can do a number of things here. This can get far more complex than what I have. But if we come over here into the JSON to video aspect here, you can see when I refresh this that it most likely, you can see this is that final video and it's still processing. When it's done, it's going to send a message out here and my database is listening. And this is the particular call where it's going to understand, okay, my avatar video is done, and it's going to update the asset so that it reflects on the video appropriately. And when that happens, this will fill in with the final video here, as this is the one we're working on. Now, that process can vary. Sometimes it's rather quick. If we come down, generally the rendering time on these videos is pretty close to the duration of the video. But on these longer videos, for example, this is a video that was 82 seconds. It took it 222 seconds. So that's, almost 4 minutes to generate. So it's not always linear, and that's why we don't want to sit around and keep polling and saying, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? We just rely on the third-party service to tell us when it's done. Now, if we come back here in the time that I was talking about that, it actually did update it. Now, I don't have my system video in place here. I don't think you're going to be able to hear it, but I'm going to upload this video to YouTube so that you can go out and watch and listen to it as well. So in the case that you can't hear it, you're still going to get these captions,
as she considers partial retirement.
And I realize that might be bleeding in through my microphone here, but you'll notice that we are panning in different directions and zooming. Now, where I could take this is to actually automate the posting of these videos to YouTube or wherever else I want. But like I said, I'm still not done with that yet. So there's the quick overview of what I've achieved. It's basically automated faceless videos defining the target persona that I think would visit my community so that I can constantly reference against them and make sure that my content is on point. I appreciate you following along, and as I said, I'm going to include a link to the video so you can go out and not only watch it, but I'll generate 2 to 3 other examples as well that you can watch. Thank you.